The Dawson household's living room had turned into a place of quiet sorrow. The walls, once resonating with laughter and life, now bore witness to the family's silent suffering. 6-month-old Noah Dawson lay still in his crib, his tiny body unmoving, his eyes filled with an innocence yet to experience movement's joys. Born with a rare neurological condition that rendered him completely paralyzed from the waist down, Noah's parents, Emily and Mark, had spent the past 6 months pursuing every available treatment, but the doctors offered little hope. Sitting on the couch, Emily cradled a warm cup of tea, her gaze fixated on Noah. Mark, ever the strong one, attempted to maintain a brave face. But the burden of their son's condition weighed heavily on him. "He'll never crawl, never walk," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Placing a reassuring hand over hers, Mark replied, "We don't know that yet. Miracles happen." Emily released a hollow laugh. "Miracles? We need more than a miracle." At that moment, a tiny ball of fur scurried into the room, its tail wagging wildly. Charlie, their golden retriever puppy, had recently joined the family in a small attempt to add some light to their dark world. Barely 5 months old, he was brimming with energy, mischief, and an unbreakable spirit. Charlie trotted over to Noah's crib, standing on his hind legs, peering in with wide, curious eyes. He let out a small whimper, followed by a bark, as if sensing that something was amiss. Emily sighed and reached down to pet the puppy. "He doesn't understand," she murmured. "He just wants to play." Mark observed as Charlie steadfastly refused to leave Noah's side, pressing his nose against the crib rails, his ears perked as if attuned to something beyond human comprehension. There was an unusual quality to the puppy's behavior, something instinctive, almost as if he knew. Neither Emily nor Mark realized that this little pup was about to change their lives forever. The afternoon sunlight filtered through the nursery window, casting a warm glow over Noah's crib. It was nap time, and as always, Emily gently placed him down, her fingers brushing against his soft cheek. His breathing was slow and steady, his body still. Charlie, however, was not ready to settle. The puppy sat by the crib, his tail wagging slightly, eyes locked on Noah with an intensity that Emily couldn't overlook. "Come on, Charlie," she whispered, motioning for him to leave Noah alone for a bit. But the puppy remained unmoved. Instead, he let out a soft whine and stood on his hind legs, resting his tiny paws on the wooden bars of the crib. Then something peculiar happened. Charlie began nudging Noah's tiny legs with his nose, first gently, then with increasing insistence. He whimpered softly as if pleading with Noah to respond in some way. Emily felt a lump forming in her throat. "He doesn't understand," she murmured, her heart aching at the sight. Yet Charlie wouldn't give up. He pressed his warm body against Noah's legs, nudging them repeatedly. And then, there was a twitch. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Had she imagined it? She leaned closer, watching as Charlie continued his gentle prodding, his small paws tapping against Noah's motionless legs. Then came another twitch. This time, Noah's foot moved slightly, almost imperceptibly, but enough for Emily to notice. Her hands flew to her mouth. "Oh my God, Mark, come here now." Mark rushed in, alarm on his face. "What's wrong?" Emily pointed, her eyes wide with shock and hope. "Noah, his leg. It moved?" Mark's eyes flitted between their son and Charlie, who was still nuzzling Noah's tiny legs with unwavering determination. Another soft twitch followed, then another. A miracle was unfolding right before their eyes. Mark stood frozen, his eyes fixed on Noah's tiny legs. "Did that just happen?" he whispered, hesitant to believe what he had just witnessed. Emily nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "It did." Charlie did something. He made Noah move. Charlie, blissfully unaware of the miracle he was part of, let out a joyful bark and gently licked Noah's foot. Then came another movement. This time it wasn't merely a twitch. Noah's little toes curled ever so slightly. Emily released a sob, covering her mouth. For the first signs of movement, Mark dropped to his knees beside the crib, his hands trembling. "Noah," he said, his voice wavering as he tenderly touched his son's leg. For the first time in 6 months, there was a response. A faint, almost tentative reaction. It was more than just an involuntary twitch. It was something deeper. Emily grabbed her phone. "I'm calling Dr. Patel." Minutes later, their pediatric neurologist, Dr. Mia Patel, was on the line. "You're saying Noah moved his legs?" she asked, skepticism evident in her voice. "Yes, it was small, but it happened. And it only started when Charlie, our puppy, kept nudging his legs." There was a brief silence before Dr. Patel responded. "That's interesting. Emily, I don't want to raise your hopes too quickly, but I need you to try something. See if the puppy does it again." Watch closely for any patterns in the movement. Emily hung up and turned to Mark, who was already lowering Noah onto the soft playmat on the floor. Charlie, still buzzing with excitement, bounced next to them, his tail wagging furiously. Then, as if he instinctively knew what to do, Charlie gently pressed his tiny paws on Noah's feet. It happened again. Noah's right leg jerked, then the left. Not much, but enough to indicate it wasn't random. Emily sobbed, pressing her hands to her heart. "He's responding, Mark." "He's actually responding." Mark, eyes brimming with emotion, looked at their tiny son, who for the first time in his life was showing signs of movement. Charlie let out a happy yelp and licked Noah's face, causing the baby to giggle. Just like that, the first spark of hope ignited in their hearts. Charlie trotted beside them, his leash jingling as Emily insisted on bringing the puppy, convinced he was the key to everything happening. Dr. Patel, a kind woman in her early 40s, observed as Mark placed Noah on the exam table. "All right," she said, rolling up her sleeves. "Show me what's happening." Emily took a deep breath and set Charlie down beside Noah. The puppy, as if sensing the moment's significance, immediately sprang into action, nudging, licking, and tapping his paws on Noah's feet, and then it happened again. A twitch, a movement. Dr. Patel's eyes widened. "Wait, that's not just reflexive." She grabbed her notepad and examined closely. "That's a voluntary response." Mark clenched his jaw, struggling to hold back tears. "That means," he prompted. "It means there's still some nerve activity in his legs," Dr. Patel concluded, her voice laced with cautious excitement. "It's something we didn't think was possible." Emily, shaking, asked, "But why now?" "After all these months?" Dr. Patel tapped her pen against her notepad. "Puppy therapy is a real thing. In many cases, animals can stimulate neural pathways in ways we don't fully understand. The warmth, the touch, even the emotional bond can trigger something in the brain." "So you're saying?" Mark swallowed hard. "Charlie did this?" Dr. Patel nodded. "It seems he might have awakened a dormant connection." Emily clutched Mark's arm, her heart racing. "Does this mean he could get better?" Dr. Patel hesitated, then smiled. "It means there's hope." Charlie barked happily, wagging his tail. He had accomplished what no doctor, treatment, or therapy had managed. He had given Noah a second chance. The following weeks were nothing short of extraordinary. Dr. Patel quickly established a physical therapy program for Noah, incorporating Charlie into every session. Each day, the tiny golden retriever nudged, pawed, and encouraged Noah, pushing him just enough to elicit a response. The movements that started as faint twitches gradually grew stronger. First, his toes wiggled, then his legs flexed. One unforgettable morning, a moment occurred that changed everything. Mark sat on the floor with Noah on a soft mat, Charlie by their side, while Emily held her phone to record the moment. With a smile, she encouraged, "Come on, baby," as Charlie nudged Noah's legs. "You can do it," Charlie barked softly, his tail wagging in encouragement. And then it happened. Noah kicked. A strong, undeniable kick. Emily gasped, and Mark's eyes widened. But Noah wasn't done. With a determined little grunt, he pushed himself forward just slightly, enough to drag his legs. It wasn't perfect, not even close to normal movement, but it was progress. Emily broke into sobs. "Oh my God, he's trying!" Mark scooped up his son, kissing his forehead. "That's my boy!" Charlie barked joyfully, jumping up excitedly. He had sparked something inside Noah. A fight, a will to move, a miracle. Months later, on Noah's first birthday, surrounded by family, doctors, and a very proud golden retriever, he took his first supported steps. The little boy, once expected never to walk, was defying the odds, all beginning with a tiny puppy who refused to give up on him. Charlie wasn't just a pet. He was Noah's miracle. The moral of the story is that unwavering love and persistence can ignite miracles where science sees no hope. Charlie, this tiny puppy, demonstrated that sometimes healing arises from the most unexpected places. His love, determination, and instinct ignited something in Noah that no medical treatment could. This tale teaches us that hope is never truly lost, and occasionally all it takes is a little nudge from a loyal friend to defy the impossible.